All right, it's Mike from Taxes and Bricks. Hey, it's Friday, so you know what that means. Mailbag Friday. We skipped Mailbag Friday last Friday because I was busy, and I skipped Lego Day this Wednesday because I was busy. Busy doing what? Filing extensions. Woo! Today's mailbag is all about extensions. What's an extension? What does it mean? Is it bad? Is it good? All the goodies you need to know about extensions. I just filed my own. I mean, hey, I'm doing everyone else's taxes. I gotta put mine aside, so, whatever. So, hey, that's a good sort of start here. If it's good enough for me, and it's okay for me to do an extension, it's okay for you to do an extension, but there's a lot to it. So, I'm gonna ask some questions, pretty common questions that I got, and actually all questions that I got this week and a little bit last week. So, first, throw up a little disclaimer. We're going to pay the lawyers. So stay tuned for that, and I'll be right back with our Mailbag Friday questions, all about extensions.
This video is rated TAX and contains occasional ramblings, mild attempts at humor, self-deprecation, irreverence, brief numerical examples, and adult tax and accounting advice that may not be suitable for all taxpayers. Viewer discretion is advised. Before following any of the advice in this or any of our videos, you should always consult with a tax professional. Thank you.
All right, thanks for hanging in there while we pay the lawyers. All right, first question came in last week. It says, I'm reading over here, so forgive the lack of eye contact. Hey, Mike, I can't get my tax stuff together in time to hit the April deadline, so what do I do? Well, they said April 15th, but actually this year, don't tell anybody. Technically, the deadline is the 18th. Why? Well, Friday is the 15th, Friday the 15th, but Friday is a holiday in Washington, D.C. called Emancipation Day. And so the government, as a show of respect for that holiday, does not require people to file their tax returns. And so then that would put the deadline on the 16th, but the 16th is a Saturday, and the government never makes people file on the weekends. So Saturday, Sunday would be the 16th, 17th, no filing. So then they push it to the following business day when the government is open again and there are no holidays. That would be Monday the 18th. Don't tell anybody that, though. Shh, it's the 15th. I don't want to be working the weekend before. Anyway, what do you do? No, it's very simple. If you have a tax account, you tell them, and they can hopefully file what's called a 4868 for you. It's an automatic extension. That's the federal tax form. If you can't get an accountant to do it, or you don't have a tax software, go to irs.gov. In the search field, type in 4868. You're going to get instructions, and the instructions are going to tell you, based on where you live or the address you're putting on your returns, what address you need to send the 4868 to on paper. And there should be a PDF that you can fill in, and it's very simple. It asks for very complicated information like your name, your social security number, and your address. There's also a spot in there where you can fill in some numbers. So if you think you're going to owe them some money, and we'll get into why you should do this later, then you should fill in how much money you think you might owe them. Be like, I don't really know. Here's 10 grand. Okay, great. Awesome. Be my friend if you can send the government 10 grand without, whatever. But, and then you put it in an envelope with a check, walk into a post office, stand in line, and send it certified mail with return receipt requested. If you don't want to mail anything, then you can actually go to irs.gov, and there's a payment portal system. They basically call it their direct pay site. And you select for the reasoning extension, and then you're going to have your 2020 tax returns in front of you, because it's going to ask you some identity verification type questions. But you answer the questions, and then it's going to say, great, how much money would you like to send us? And you can send them $1. If you're not sure, you can send them $10,000. If you think you're going to owe them like 5 or 10 grand, whatever it is, send them some money. It's all done electronically. Your extension's done, bing, bang, boom. Now, states we'll kind of get into in a little bit, but a lot of times if you don't owe money to the state and you file the federal extension, the state will just accept the fact that you're on federal extension as sort of a de facto you're on state extension. But you got to check with your states, because some of them don't do that. Some of those states are bad kitties, and they make you file your own stupid forms. So 4868, that's the extension form. You can, like I said, do it online with the IRS. You can go to the irs.gov website and download the form and print it out and mail it in, all that good stuff. Okay. It says, Mike, This is another question. You indicated we might need an extension this year, but I was curious if this was some kind of red flag with the IRS. No. An extension is not a red flag with the IRS. I actually hate the term red flags. I hear it all the time. If there's a term that I get more during any type of tax season, is this a red flag? Is this a red flag? I don't know. Who knows what the IRS is going to choose to pick on your returns? I say this. Don't lie on your tax returns. Be accurate. And who gives a crap about red flags? Let the IRS audit you. Bring it on. Because if you're being honest, then who cares? But back to the lecture at hand. No, an extension is not a red flag. If it was a red flag, they wouldn't call it automatic extension. They don't even make you give a reason why you want an extension. They used to back in the day when there were 2 extensions. They used to say, why do you need a second extension? But the first extension, the one we're doing now, it's automatic. They don't care. Okay? As long as you don't owe them money, and again, we'll get into that in a second here, they don't care. It's not a red flag issue. There are a million different reasons why people need to go on extension. And if the IRS had to dig into the reasons why millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of people need to get an extension every year, and that's because that's how many people go on extension, then I don't even know. They'd be walking around like a one-armed paper hanger. They already are with 20 million unprocessed returns, but whatever. So, no. My opinion, and pretty much every opinion of every accountant, an extension is not a red flag. I don't like that. Don't use the term red flag with me. All right. It says, hey, Mike. Thanks for taking care of my extension, because I did it weeks ago when I didn't hear from you. What's the filing deadline now? Very good question. The extension you're filing now gives you an additional 6 months to get a return into the government. That would be October 15th of 2022. If you're going on extension now for tax year 2021, October 15th. Some states are a little bit different. Especially with COVID, but some states are kind of wonky, like I live in a wonky state. Virginia's deadline actually to file originally is May 1st, not April 15th. So when you go on extension, you have till November 1st. I don't know. Why they do that, I have no idea. I've never even bothered to research it because it's stupid. And also, too, honestly, if your returns are done by April 15th, I'm filing your federal, I'm filing your Virginia. I'm not going to hold off. I guess you got a couple extra weeks to pay them, but big deal, whatever. So... but yeah, for the federal, because this we'll focus on today, October 15th is your new deadline now that I filed your extension because you didn't call me. And yeah, that's why. So there we go. All right. Mike, another question. This is a good one. You indicated you filed an extension with the IRS for me, but do I need a separate extension for Maryland? So in this person's case, the answer was no, because when I kind of looked at their situation, Maryland looks like it's going to come up as a refund for them. And that's the case with most states, and honestly the IRS too, but I still say file the IRS extension. That's just kind of a given. But if you're going to get a refund on the state side, honestly, the extension's not that important and it isn't necessary, and some states don't require it at all. If you owe, and again, that's going to be the last question here about what happens if you owe for all of this stuff. The extension for Maryland in this person's case was unnecessary because they came up with a refund. Now, if I looked at their returns a little bit and said, all right, you're going to owe this, that to Maryland, I would have given them a Maryland extension voucher with an estimated amount on there, and had them send money in. And you should do that with your states. Again, for the 90th time, we're going to get into the what happens if you owe money thing here in just a second, because it kind of turns a lot of this on its head. So anyway, but no, in this person's case for Maryland, and in a lot of cases for states, if you're getting a refund or you're on extension for the federal and you don't owe any money on the state side, the state's just going to assume the federal extension means you're also on extension for your state. Check with your state. You also might have a locality tax. Places like Pennsylvania have a lot of locality taxes, and other different jurisdictions have, local taxes that you have to file and pay separately from your state and your fed. You might want to check with them about extensions too. So that's the question about states. Now, last question, and this is the biggie that I get. Okay. Mike, I wanted to know if I think I might owe for 2021, should I pay something now or with my extension? I've heard that if you're on extension, the government can still charge you a penalty and interest if you owe when you file. Okay. This time of year, I find myself saying one thing over and over again, and it's not Jesus, I need sleep or coffee or a sugar-free Red Bull. What I say over and over and over again is an extension of time to file is not an extension of time to pay. I'm going to repeat that. An extension of time to file is not an extension of time to pay. Okay? What the filing extension gives you is it gives you time to get your paperwork into them. It doesn't give you more time to get your money. And that goes for the Fed and the states. Okay? The only time in my 20 years of doing this I have ever seen an extension of time to file be an extension of time to pay was the last 2 seasons because of COVID. Okay? When they basically pushed out the deadline for 2019 returns that were due in 2020 because everybody was locked in their homes and nobody could get to documentation or their jobs and banks were closed and things like that and financial institutions and whatever. And then again last year when they gave everybody a couple extra weeks into May, that was the only time I've ever seen. And then there are sometimes some natural disasters happen, floods and tornadoes and things like that. They'll give the people in those areas. But in general, as a general rule, an extension of time to file is not an extension of time to pay. So I know, what are you thinking right now? You're like, well, if I don't have my taxes done, how the heck do I know what to pay? Why do flammable and inflammable mean the same thing? I don't know the answer to that question. What I can tell you is this. Guess. Make an educated guess. Or have somebody help you make an educated guess. Or if you want to try your best to avoid penalty when you file, it's not going to avoid interest. But if you can get in like 100 to 110% of what your prior year's liability was between your withholdings, your estimated payments, and what you pay with your extension, that will typically avoid some or all of the late payment penalties, okay? Here's the thing. If you just need a couple extra weeks and you're going to owe a couple extra bucks after the deadline, and the penalty and interest is probably going to be pretty minor depending on where you live, depending on how much you owe. The best bet there is if you're just not going to send anything, then just get your taxes filed as quickly as possible, okay? Because the penalties and interest do start to add up every month that you're late with the payments, even if you're not late with your returns. But the extension prevents the larger penalty, which is late filing, or really what the IRS deems a failure to file. Late and failure, 2 very different words. Late's like, my reservations were at 7:30, I rolled in at 7:35. Failure is, my reservations were at 7:30, I just didn't show up, and I left some really good-looking person sitting at a table who's never going to talk to me again. Much worse. You don't want to fail. Being late still sucks, but don't do that either. All right. At least it's better than failure. Pay something. Send them some money. Guess. Look at your prior year's returns if you think they're similar to the last. I get clients that call me all the time. I don't have any of my tax documents for you, but I need to know what to pay today. Well, hang on. And I do like the Amazing Kreskin and hold like the envelope up to my head and try and like read it or whatever. Was that Kreskin? Johnny Carson, I think, did that. But I wouldn't know because I'm way too young to know who Johnny Carson is. So anyway, you got to make some kind of an educated guess. You got to look at your numbers. Maybe you got to run it through a calculator. There are a million of them online. You can go through a quick tax calculator. And a billion of them just, you kind of just fill your numbers in. You're not filing anything. So, overestimate your income, underestimate your withholding a little bit. The bottom line number is going to come out, a couple bucks, whatever it is. And then, like I said, in the first question, go online, irs.gov, go to the direct pay website and send them some money. Okay. Same with your states. Okay. So I'll repeat the thing that I repeat over and over again this time of year. An extension of time to file is not an extension of time to pay. So even if you're on extension, if you owe money after that extension, there is a possibility, and a pretty good one, depending on how much you owe, that you will have some penalty or interest. The states tend to be a little worse, penalty and interest-wise. So you can owe them way less and end up with way more in penalty and interest for not having paid them. So that is pretty much how it all works. But as I said at the top of this, I file an extension for myself and my family every year, okay? Mainly because I just don't have time to finalize my tax returns, but also too, I think it's only fair to my clients that I focus on them and not on myself, and that's also too why I don't get any sleep, because I'm focused on them and not on myself. to my detriment. But I give myself an extension every year. It gives me time to sit down in May and June and July and look at my tax returns leisurely and get them done. I always make sure I make my estimated tax payments. I always make sure that I've paid in a little bit more, so I'm always getting, somewhat of a small refund back of some of the monies that I've paid in. But ultimately, for me, I file an extension, and I don't think that I would do anything for myself or my family that's detrimental. And I certainly wouldn't recommend to my clients that they do something that I wouldn't necessarily do for myself, because I think that any accountant that would do that is a bad kitty. We don't want that. No bad kitties. So I do an extension. It's not a big deal. It's never been a problem for me. Okay. A couple of years I had to do extensions for, K-1 forms that didn't come in, which is a very common situation. I did an extension because when I adopted my daughter, we adopted our daughter. We didn't have her social security number by the time the April deadline rolled around, because Social Security Administration was a little slow in getting it to us. So I had to file an extension to wait for her social security card to show up in the mail. It took a couple of months actually beyond the deadline. So there are a variety of reasons why, and it worked out totally fine. So everything you need to know about extensions, there you go, in today's mailbag. Good luck. Again, lots of online resources. 4868 is the main federal extension form. And thanks for watching today's episode. I hope this helps clear up some misconceptions and questions you might have about what it means to go on extension. And thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe. And I think we're up to 115 subscribers. I looked the other day and I was like, what the? You people are great. Thank you so much. So if you haven't subscribed and you're watching this, do it. Lots of great information here. And I am definitely going to be back with Lego. I definitely think I don't know about Monday. I might not have a video out Monday. I'm going to try, because I got a lot going on. I got like a billion things to do. But once the tax season's over, we'll be cranking out some really great content here. Lots of great Lego stuff. I've got kind of in my head, and I'm putting it down on paper, like a really good schedule for finishing up the architecture stuff, getting that Lego city, worked out. I've got some big Lego sets, the Titanic Coliseum. I got the UCS Millennium Falcon. I've got the Death Star. I've got the Star Destroyer, the Superstars. I got a ton of big, huge sets, and I'm going to not live stream, but I'm going to time lapse build some of these, show you guys online. So it's going to be really exciting for the spring. Lots of great content coming up. Some interesting stuff going on in the tax code too, coming up here too. We talk a little bit about some of the proposals that are coming up for the tax laws and tax regulation changes that might be coming, down the pike, or that are kind of being thrown out there. May not happen, but some of them may be interesting to kind of know and cut through the BS that's out there on them. So again, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and we'll talk to you soon.